All right, today we're going to jump into Solana Pay, also the connection to PUBG, how all of this could make gaming something really special. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into the metaverse. We are going to look at a couple of things today that really dive into how Solana is connecting the dots in a few different areas. Now, obviously, we've seen Solana struggle a bit over the past few months. There has been, I would say, a good FUD machine intact as well. We'll kind of break down a little bit of what that means. We'll show you some sentiment analysis from the Crypto Power Index to show you some indices that I think give us a little bit of a window into where the future of where this is going. A lot of the things happening with Solana and why this matters in gaming. This first story, PUBG developer teams up with Solana Labs to launch play-to-earn crypto games. Now, when you look at the size and the scope of PUBG and the connectivity of what Solana can do as a blockchain, and really kind of the power between these two organizations that could come to probably one of the most dynamic duos out there in terms of gaming and blockchain development. What they said in the article was pretty straightforward. Krafton, the South Korean gaming giant, founded by a billionaire, is expanding its crypto empire by partnering with blockchain startup Solana Labs to develop play to earn. And that's pretty straightforward. I think this in itself is going to be a huge thing because as you look at PUBG, just the amount of players, the amount of notoriety, and also just worldwide awareness of this project and being able to kind of scale into the next level of where play to earn comes from in traditional games. This is something we've talked about here on the channel for quite some time is can traditional gaming studios make this leap? I think with key things like what we're talking about right now with Solana definitely on the plate. The company behind PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, PUBG, video game announced Wednesday. It signed the business agreement with Solana Labs for this integrations. NFTs are going to be unique digital assets. Obviously, we think within the PUBG environment, that will be the question of how they integrate in with it, how the integration might work in a long term. I'd love to get your feedback. Make sure and drop some comments below because I think Solana in general, one, they already have a very active gaming team, already have a very active ecosystem within games themselves. I'd love to hear your feedback of how you think the integration might take place with PUBG. Also noting is that Solana accounted for nearly 50% of all usage in the blockchain industry last year, attracted $4 billion in investments during the same period. We'll show you an investment rundown also. Pretty impressive, even though some of the projects on the investment rundown are still a little bit unknown. There's a handful in there that you will recognize, but pretty much this is big news. I think this is big news. Now, initially, it did not seem to strike a chord yet with the investors, but we saw some after-hours trading with Solana and also kind of an uptick of where Solana is today. So we'll look at the sentiment and kind of also the chart and kind of see how that is playing. South Korea's Naver Z is launching a $100 million fund for metaverse creators. This is another tie-in to how all of this could work. And if you look at this article here, the lineup is pretty interesting because I think Roblox obviously being in the play, Epic Games, along with many others, Naver is a very interesting connection point here that could start to spread Solana into other projects. And that's the key question here. If you look at Krafton and what their relationship is with a lot of these different projects out here, let me just kind of show you their press release. Krafton, obviously tied in with PUBG, partners with Naver Z to build an NFT metaverse platform. This is where I think some of this could really kind of play into the strengths of Solana. And Naver is a subsidiary, runs Asia's largest metaverse platform, Zepeto, which has also garnered more than 290 million users worldwide. So all of this leaning in, again, I think this is a big play. And remember, when you look at what's happening within the metaverse, especially right now, you have to be able to follow the money and you have to be able to follow the dots because there's a lot of strategic plays that are happening not only from the blockchain partnerships, but also from the investment layers and then the accompanying companies that are also associated with this, which is why this kind of partnership makes such a potential opportunity for Solana in the near and also in the long term. I was just looking at Zepeto's website. Obviously, this is the one that I think they're after here in terms of the partnership. Naver Z, of course, Just take a look at what they're doing. You will have to kind of convert that, but this kind of just gives you an overview. It is a very interesting play, and I think with the Pacific Rim being such a powerhouse in terms of both gaming players, the evolution of metaverse, because we are seeing a lot of innovation in China, in Singapore, Hong Kong, obviously, and then you also see a lot happening within Korea. So there's so many different angles here in terms of where the adoption could be coming from. So I think the partnership is a good one for both Krafton, Naver, and Zapato, which all, again, is going to be, I think, at some point looking for who is the best partner to go with. And obviously the early partnership with PUBG and Solana, I think, paves the way here to some very interesting partnerships in the future. I wanted to take a quick look at our CPI, and let's take a look here. We'll jump to it because we did a special update specifically. One thing you guys will notice if you're a CPI member, we've added some new things. So if you go to Top Crypto, one of the things that we've jumped to is you'll see our tokens up here. So no, it's no longer just 10 tokens. Now we're doing 15. We're getting ready to roll out another 5, so we'll have 20 tokens in this. And this is the historical analysis. So you can kind of map this against pricing. You can look at other metrics out there. Remember, not financial advice on any of these projects, but the goal is to give you some data, help support this with some analytics and also some research. And then hopefully this is going to get going the right direction for you guys. So not investment advice here. But what you'll notice here is I'm going to just jump to Solana. By the way, we've got Algorand here. That's new. Axie Infinity is new. Gala is new. ApeCoin is also new. And what was the other new one I thought we had? I think we have one more coming. Maybe it's just not up here yet. Sandbox is coming. But let's take a look here at Solana. Now, normally we will, let me zoom up on this one, currently sitting at market cap 28 billion. Normally we don't have the overall data in for today's date being the 24th. What we wanted to show you, typically we would do this on a Friday, but we updated it one day early. We'll go ahead and do our Friday update, probably replace our data from Thursday. But right now you see the movement just from Monday and how quickly Solana has really come back up into the zone that they had at the end of February, which was a 74.88. So if we continue to see this kind of movement, could we see Solana start to really accelerate past the $100 mark and stay there? If you look at their current price point, right here's the one. Let's take a look at the 7-day. You can kind of see it kind of climbing out of there. Back here on the 1 month, this was back with the last time we saw sentiment really starting to slide was when we had hit that 105 mark right around the 1st of March, which our sentiment would pick it up right here. Same kind of thing. We're picking up a pretty significant sentiment move right now. Here's the question, I think, and that is Solana set for continued movement upwards? Now, there are a lot of other things that are happening with Solana that's not necessarily gaming related, but related to, I think, the overall project. And one of the things, of course, is going to be Solana Pay. And before we get into that, I want to jump over here to the fundraising round just to give you guys an overview of the project. So you can see there's a tremendous amount. You've got Everland on here, Metaplex, Phantom the Wallet, Portals coming in, which is a metaverse project, Zbag, Chill Chat. This is a Pixel NFT metaverse. Again, you just see the amount of concentration here. Dialect, protocol for smart messaging. This is a wallet-to-wallet chat. This, I think, is an interesting project. We should probably do something on trying to get those guys on the show. SIGA, and then the seamless multi-chain liquidity protocol, getting back more into DeFi. But you'll notice here, 5.5 million, 46 million. The big one right here, obviously, with the Phantom Wallet, 109 million in investment round. 15 million right here on ZBAC. And then the other one right here was the the 6 million right here on the first basketball manager game built for the metaverse with VBA. Line up here, you got Jump Capital really getting involved early. Animoca's in there. Defiance Capital were very active. FTX jumping into the fray here on certain projects, even Coinbase and FTX. So I think we will continue to see a lot of innovation from Solana side of things when it comes to the amount of capital flowing into Solana itself. Now, there's a lot of FUD happening with Solana. That yes, we've seen exploits, we've seen different kind of congestion issues. Those are real to a certain extent, but in many cases they may be on a dApp that it has really nothing to do with the blockchain, but more so to do with the dApp itself. So I think when you're watching and keeping track of the FUD that comes into the Solana ecosystem, do your due diligence, understand where it's coming from, and I would also make sure to follow a lot of the links within the stories that comes out on these things, because a lot of times it will, because these writers will use a lot of sensational headlines to gain you to click on that because, oh my gosh, it's Solana FUD. So make sure and do your due diligence. Do not read headlines and assume that you know what happened in that story. You've got to dive in deep. And it's not necessarily just the story. A lot of times it's the associated headlines with it. And then go in and do a search array around it. Then go in and layer in some research on those projects that were causing a little bit of problems so you can understand what's really happening within it. And I think that's important with any project that you guys are looking at investing in. And remember, this is your money. Today we want to thank our sponsors, and that is ftx.us. Make sure, and if you are looking for a new exchange, maybe you're looking for better rates, maybe you're looking for some access into NFTs, or you want a really slick mobile app, FTX is the place to go. I like it. I'm a big user of FTX, and it's one of these projects that I think when you look at what they're doing in the crypto space overall, it really makes sense because they are really investing back into the crypto space, both from a metaverse side, a gaming side, and I think from an aspect of what the future of FTX could be is very powerful because they're putting so much money back into a lot of these innovative companies in there. Again, just make sure and check out their mobile app. I'd go to the ftx.app. You can go on your mobile, you can actually get in and get, whether you're an Android user or an iPhone user, get the mobile app. That's the way I actually use it. I found it to be more slick and a little easier to use. Make sure and use our code below to get the best discounts over on ftx.us. All right, let's get into SkateX. This is a Block and Tackle's first NFT game title. We're set to kick off and flip into the metaverse. This is going to be, of course, backed by Solana Ventures, another one, Animoca in there, Coinbase in here. Just, again, showing that we are seeing more and more innovation in the space from the metaverse side of things for what's happening with Solana and just these big partnerships, and I think the continued support of these dApps and all these new ventures out there. So I think at some point we're going to see some home runs being hit, and instead of a lot of singles for a lot of these dApps, I think once we start to see some real home runs come out of these, that's going to be really special, I think, for Solana. And when you put that much into the game, meaning that many oars in the water, whatever you want to call it, you're going to start to see that cycle really pay off in a lot of these tokens. Let's jump over here to Solana Pay, because this is one that I've been somewhat skeptical of Solana Pay, not in the sense of is it a good product, because I feel like this is probably a very well thought out, well engineered product. My concern has been about congestion, because when you look at TPS, transaction per second, and just the scale in which you'd have to really ramp up if you were putting Solana Pay in 16,000 Starbucks or in 26,000 McDonald's, you could see the scalability opportunity starts to represent something that you have to be ready for. And I think as they roll that out, and I think they're doing it in a kind of a unique way, just to give you kind of an example, this of course is a website that does, ergonomic, and a lot of the, matter of fact, they used to be a sponsor for us, but autonomous AI. You can notice right here, Solana Pay, right here on the website, available, and right there it is. So when I think we see Solana Pay really starting to show up, when you have Amazon Pay, PayPal, GPay, Google Pay there, I think this is pretty significant, and it could be something that over a quick amount of time could scale into a lot of online retail merchant systems, and then you get into in real life merchant systems. Here was the Rep John Curtis. He's very pro crypto. Let me kind of just wind that back up for you guys so you can kind of see his action, and I'll zoom that out. So I think the key thing that, and we've talked about this before, Solana Pay, it is very fast. The fact that you've got easy enough interface, and I think with QR codes, everybody kind of understands this now. Pretty much anybody can do this. So I think the fact that we will see this really start to play into retail environments does start to change. I'm very curious how Apple Pay is going to look at this, because Apple Pay has had a struggle of being able to implement, mainly because of the fact that it's somewhat there on an island with the Apple ecosystem, where something like this really becomes multi-device agnostic. You don't have to worry about if you're a Samsung or an HTC or an iPhone. It all is just going to work. And I think this continues to show a lot more push. Here's another one real quick. I wanted to show a retail. Let's zoom that out for you guys on this one. And this, of course, is, I think it's called Future LV. And he's going to do, a retail transaction right here at a clothing store on Solana Pay. Stop talking. Let's get the transaction in. But pretty quick, actually. When we watched these earlier, I was pretty impressed with how fast it was. So there's his USDC bank, and it's going right into using 139 bucks. Wait a second. Boom. That's about what, 8 seconds on that? So again, very fast and efficient. That's not all. I mean, there's more here. You've got some pretty interesting ones right here with a bakery. Again, seeing low transactions. Remember, that's the other thing that you have to worry about with merchant fees and scenarios like that. Here's another one. Let me jump to this one real quick. This is another one that, let me zoom out on that one real quick, and you guys can kind of see this one go. I think the point I'm making is that when you look at merchant fees and how credit card processing and credit card transactions take place in the modern world of e-commerce, and also just in regular retail, I think there. So another one sent. So I think the point is that this could really equate to a little bit of a seismic shift in the payment systems. And if it continues to really gain traction and also gain some significant rollout, then I think we've got something very special, and Solana could be leading the way with that. Yeah, you pair that with the Phantom wallet, you pair that with what they're doing in gaming and metaverse, and you pair that with what they're doing to attract new people, like you see right here with Hacker House. This is a glimpse of what they're doing here. They're getting ready to launch Solana Miami. This is coming up, actually early April. We've got a lot happening here in Miami in the first week of April. A lot of different events coming off, obviously Bitcoin Miami. But I think we'll continue to see more and more developers coming into the space. And to me, that is good bullish news for Solana. Just to give you an example, this is also on their Solana Pay website. On the protocol front, developers have been busy providing feedback and adding to the code. New feature is coming to expand the capability of the Solana Pay QR codes far beyond simple transfers. So it allows interactive requests between a checkout app and a mobile wallet to power almost any transactions as possible. And here's what's interesting to me is when you get into NFTs, dynamic discounts, DeFi-powered loyalty programs. These will be very interesting because loyalty programs is a big way that retailers utilize the e-commerce ecosystem. And if you have a solution that not only can handle e-commerce and also merchant services and handle loyalty systems, now you have kind of the perfect catch-all for what you need as a retailer. And retail is going to be one of the key things that accelerates adoption. And again, back to accelerating adoption, can you imagine the average person out there saying, wait a minute, I just saw somebody pay with something that was different than Apple Pay. What is that? Now people are exploring what Solana is, and boom, you have another investor coming into crypto. So I think a lot of that really kind of moves in the right direction. Back to this point right here, Crypto Potato, Solana exploit, 50 million stolen from infinite stablecoin minting glitch. Again, this is one of those things that really gets into this whole FUD system of what's happening in crypto. You need to be aware of these things. Dive deep in these stories. Take a look at the solution. In many cases, take a look to see if the story was written by an actual journalist or someone that's done research, because in some cases it's done by op-eds. So it happens a lot in traditional media. It's something that's starting to happen quite a bit in crypto media as well. Just to give you an idea, just to recap here on PUBG, look at the size of the players. This is a current live count. Let's update the player count real quick. You'll notice here, this is I thought was kind of interesting, how quickly and how popular this game is, if I update that again, look at that. I mean, 40,000 people came on in 5 seconds. Here's another 50,000 people came on in another 5 seconds. This to me is critical mass adoption, and critical mass adoption and integrating Solana into something like a PUBG. This will cause a domino effect in a lot of these other projects that are out there. So where does this mean Solana is going? Obviously with the price point right now, we could see Solana continue to move. If you look back at our CPI data, this is getting back upwards of performing back here in the 74 on sentiment, even though remember, amplification was not as high at this period on 228. And if you go back and look at pricing here, let's go back to the 1 month. Yeah, so back here on 28. So see, sentiment was good and it was causing, or it wasn't causing, but you saw price increase while sentiment was flying. The difference was is you didn't see amplification moving with it. Now, does that mean anything bad? No, it doesn't mean anything bad, because any kind of upward sentiment move usually means we're going to see positive, price action move within a token. But when you see amplification, that has, when it starts to get very close to sentiment scores, that has a much longer effect on price. So what does that mean in the short term? It means that Solana, in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing on our data, is that we could see Solana make continuous moves upward right here. A lot happening in the ecosystem, a lot happening here. Remember, Bitcoin's coming into Miami. A lot of ecosystems are going to pump. Remember, prior to these events cause a lot of action in the space. Play it that way. Events have a lot of an impact on these tokens. To be cautious once those events get close to ending, unless there's something else that's moving in the market. A lot of other factors. Watch the sentiment data very closely if you're a CPI member. Make sure and keep a close eye. Put that up on another monitor. Look for those data points every Monday and Friday, because that's a very important time to take a look at all this stuff. All right, you guys checking us out over on the podcast right now. We appreciate all the input from and all the love too. Thanks for the stars and the team. Well, I guess the podcast on the side. Remember, it's Metaverse Insider. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, you can also catch the podcast version of this Metaverse Insider. Just search on iTunes and or Spotify. But right here for you podcast listeners, this is the place to come, is over on YouTube. And we do this both for audio and video for the purpose of you. So if you can't watch the show, you can at least listen to it. But the main thing is catch it over here on the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. It's the best way. It helps us with the algorithm. It helps us understand, if you leave a comment or two, what you like on the show and what you might like for us to cover. So we love to get all that feedback. Make sure, of course, and follow me out on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on Metaverse Insider.